Anybody joining us for our Friday edition of Office Hours? Is this your first time? Lindsay, I see your hand up. Where are you calling in from, and what's your affiliation with the military, if any?
I'm calling in from Arlington, Virginia. I am not certified yet. I'm kind of in the whole studying, and I'm starting the Merivis cohort in about a week and a half. I'm planning to take the test at the end of May. I am a veteran and I am a current military spouse. So I got it on both ends. And I'm a brat, so I might as well, all over.
The trifecta, right?
Exactly.
Well, welcome.
I've met my soul sister.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not certified. I'm still kind of going through. I've been doing the focus on the force stuff on top of doing the trails, and a good friend recommended the Merivis cohort, so I'm excited to start that. But so in the meantime, I've been working on, I did the admin super badge, and now I'm on like the reports and dashboards super badge, and I'm stuck. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, well, as we kind of kick things off in a few minutes here, that's definitely one of the things that we don't necessarily help you with the super badges, but if you're really stuck and you need a nudge, we can definitely help with that.
Right. Totally understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else joining us for the first time? I think I saw one other hand.
Yeah, I am as well.
Hey, Megan.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm transitioning out of the Navy and just running Salesforce as a Hiring Our Heroes fellow this summer. So I joined this community earlier this week and started with my badges. So very new and learning about the process and how to become certified.
Nice. Well, welcome. Let me ask you, for Hiring Our Heroes, are you getting into the program, or did you already go through like the hiring process and you've gotten selected by a company and you're actually like kicking it off in the summer?
Yeah, so I've already been selected by Salesforce, just officially accepted my offer yesterday. So can really officially start telling people, but did the interview process over the past month, and I will be with the enterprise sales team in Washington, DC this summer.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's really cool. I am a big fan of the Hiring Our Heroes program. Over the lifespan of my company, I think we've, small company, we've hired like 3 people. 2 of them one was directly hired through Hiring Our Heroes, and one was a referral through Hiring Our Heroes. So yeah, can't speak more highly about the program. But welcome. Appreciate having you here. Anybody else joining us for the first time? No, the new faces. Okay, so I think what we'll do is, just looking at the time, we'll kick things off then. What I'm going to do is share my screen and just give you all a very quick overview about what this Friday call is. So let's do that. All right. So as you probably saw from all the posts on LinkedIn or in Slack or wherever else you got this notification about this call, this is basically just meant to be a live forum for anybody that is in transitioning military veterans, spouses, allies, which basically means everybody else. So whether you're affiliated with the military or not, we're happy to help here. And our goal is basically to discuss any questions that you might have, whether it's on Trailhead modules, stuck in a particular super badge, you have an issue or some kind of challenge at work that we could try to help you out with. Anything or everything Salesforce technology related is fair game. Now, I always like to point out that we have a wide variety of experience levels on this call, right? Everywhere from I just did my first badge yesterday to I've been working in the ecosystem for 10 years, right? So we get a wide variety of questions. If the first question happens to be something that is very complex, that is completely over your head, you have no idea what people are talking about, that's okay, right? So don't get discouraged that you're in the wrong call because you think your questions are too easy or they're too basic. That's not the case. It just, we try to field every question that comes up. So feel free to ask any question. And if we can help you, we'll help you. And if we can't, hopefully we'll be able to point you in the right direction. All right. I also want to point out here that we have 2 links down below, and I'll post these into the chat in a second when I stop sharing. But one is, if you're not already following our page on LinkedIn, definitely do that because I post my the events for Fridays when we're holding open Q&A, and the other sessions post there as well. So David Nava on his Wednesday calls, the off the record chatter Monday calls, Jade's Trailhead Tuesday that's going to be kicking off here in a week or so. She'll post those updates there as well. So if you're not following that page, definitely do that. That's the best place to get the most up-to-date information. And then, of course, if you're not a member of our Slack workspace, this is the invitation link where you can join that. And again, I'll post that in the chat here in a second. So with that, let's open it up. Does anybody have any questions or topics that they would like to go through today? Yeah, Megan.
I only came here for one important question. When do we get our hoodies?
Are you talking about like the official like Trailblazer hoodie? Or are you talking like a Salesforce military hoodie?
Wait, do I get either one?
No, I don't think you get any of them. I was just trying to clarify before I told you that I have no idea.
Oh, fair enough.
Now, like, I think it used to be a thing, and folks correct me if I'm wrong, but like the hoodies, like the Trailblazer one, I think like the one that Kip is wearing there, I don't know if they used to give them out to certain people, but I know now you can get them on the store. Like you can go to the Salesforce store and you can buy them. If anybody has a link to the store and wants to throw that in chat, that'd be cool. Sandy, what do you got?
I won my hoodie. I won my hoodie by doing one of the quests.
Oh, gotcha.
But otherwise, I think that's the other way to get it is either you purchase it or you win it.
I bought mine.
Yeah,
Thanks,
let me just take a look here because again, this might be a good thing to discuss if folks are new and they're not quite sure what a quest is. But let me see if I can log in here to Trailhead and we can just take a quick look at that. All right, Trailhead's going crazy here for me. Let me share my screen. So if you're not already aware, the main place you would go to learn Salesforce right now is Trailhead. So trailhead.salesforce.com. And I believe if we go to learn, you'll notice that there's an option here for Trailhead quests. And this is something you'll see they pop up all the time, especially around like new release time, sometimes for like Dreamforce, holidays, all kinds of stuff. They'll create these quests. And as Sandy mentioned, it can be anywhere from you get to win a special Trailhead badge that, will never be available anywhere else until you do that quest, or you can actually learn, be entered to win like swag. So you come to Trailhead Quest and you can click Explore Quests and you can see all the different ones that they have available. And you can see here, the things that you can actually win, like, socks, more socks. I guess everything is socks, really. Is that what we're winning these days? Socks.
Okay, it must be new.
Yeah, come to Trailhead Quest and you can win socks, apparently. So not as cool as a hoodie, but yeah. So yeah, check it out. So, and a lot of times too, when you look at the quests, it might not even be anything specific to like, hey, you got to learn CPQ or you got to learn some other kind of weird, Salesforce cloud that you have no interest in. A lot of times it's just like, make sure you finish like 5 badges by November 31st or something like that. Like, it can be just learn whatever you want and they have some other kind of criteria. So definitely take a look at that. Yeah.
The zip that you're wearing right now, I got from completing the trails for the admin because I was enrolled through Military Trailhead. So
yeah, I'm at the stage now. Some people like you look behind them and they got like all the swag, like teddy bears and Astros and all this kind of stuff. I usually avoid the plushies and I just go for like the sweatshirts and t-shirts. But if you quiz me on where any of these things came from, I have long since forgotten like where I've acquired all these shirts. So,
well, if you don't like the plushes, you can always send them my way.
Well, I think I have one plushie that I shared like 3 or 4 calls ago. It's just the Trailhead Military Astro. Other than that, I try to avoid them.
Dave's background is insane, by the way.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I will mention that if you're new to the Salesforce ecosystem and you join enough live calls, you will see that there is, generally speaking, 2 types of folks, right? You have the pristine background with many plushies, Salesforce swag, all kinds of like branded materials. And then you have me that lives, I'm working out of my dark, unlit bedroom with the fuzzy background with no swag in the background. So yeah, just figure out where you want to live on that spectrum and get some plushies and go for it. So, all right, cool. Well, any other topics? So let's open it back up. any other questions or topics that anyone would like to walk through today?
Hey, Bill, I have a question.
Sure,
I
Brian.
have a lead coming in with an attachment. So when I go to related on notes and attachments, there's a resume. Usually it's PDF or Word. Then we convert that lead into a contact. Once it's converted into the contact, it doesn't automatically transfer over that document. So I was assuming that was a standard feature, but I just wanted to ask a question here if anybody knows or has dealt with that before.
Yeah, let me ask you one clarifying question, and then we can open up for comments. The lead conversion process that you're using, is it, somebody's going in there and clicking on that convert button, or is it something that's kind of automated in the background?
Just the convert button, the standard out of the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said the resume attachment, is that in the notes and attachments related list?
Correct.
Okay. Now, before I share my screen and start walking through this as an example, does anybody have any thoughts or feedback, or have you run into this issue in the past?
I think you just need to create a new content document link on the converted contact ID, like with a record triggered flow.
So, Stephen, let me say that back to you. So essentially, the document is staying attached to the converted lead. So in order to get that to show up on the contact, you essentially just need to create another, essentially like that pointer and whatever that table is that points that same document to the contact as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So whenever like a new contact is created and the converted contact ID is not null, then you do a get to see if the content document links, and then just create a new one. I think.
Okay. Yeah, let's run through a quick test here. Going back to my point about the horrible lighting, I can't open a Salesforce screen without looking like a ghost with the light on my face here. I don't know what I can do. In any case, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm in Trailhead. I just logged in through my trailblazer.me profile. I'm gonna go up to here, go to hands-on orgs. This is where you can create all kinds of test environments that you can use with your Trailhead, badges and testing and super badges. So what I'm going to do is launch our VetForce testing org that we have here. And let's just see if we can kind of recreate the basics of the question, right? So I'm going to create a lead and I'm going to add an attachment, and then we can see what happens when we convert it. And then based on that, we'll go from there. So let's go to leads and let's go to Bertha Boxer. All right. Now, just to confirm, Brian, so when we look at and I think I have to add it on here. I don't think I have that related list, but here, let's add that real quick. So the resume gets added to, is it specifically like the files related list, or is it the notes and attachments?
Notes and attachments.
Notes and attachments. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this page. And let's add the notes and attachments to the page. And then, like I said, we'll throw a document in there and we'll try to convert it and see what happens. So I basically just from the lead, I went up to the gear icon, did edit page. It brings me right into the Lightning page that I can edit. And I am going to grab the dynamic related list single. I'm just going to throw it at the top here. And I'm going to select, what are we going to select? Hopefully this will pop up. So I don't know if this is just poor performance or what here, but I would expect this to be a drop down of all the different related lists that I have available. Okay, let's go the other way then. I don't know why that's not working for us, but I'm just going to go back to the lead and let's actually add that related list to the page layout. So some more thing here, I'm going to click on the gear icon. From here, I can go to edit object. It'll take me in the setup right on the lead object. And then what I'll do here is on the left, we'll open up our page layouts. And because we have a bunch, I just have a habit of always going to page layout assignments, clicking that button, and it'll just show me what page layout's been assigned to all the profiles. I'm logged in as the sysadmin, so now I'll click on lead layout. And if you click on related lists, it'll throw you down to the bottom, and then I should be able to add notes and attachments down here. Okay, so let me do a quick save. I'll overwrite everybody's customizations, and then in theory, we should be able to go back here, refresh, and under my related list now, I should be able to see our notes and attachments. There we go. Okay, now, because you never know where it's going to put you, I'm just going to pause my share for a second, and I'm going to click on Upload Files, and I'm just going to grab some random file that I have sitting on my system. Let me look for something. I have about 5 million files. So it's just finding one that's, let's see. Yeah, of course, everything is like private files. Okay, so I think I was able to find a file. You said the resumes come in PDF format?
Yeah, usually PDF, sometimes they're Word documents.
Okay, all right, perfect. So I selected a PDF, and I just want to make sure that that is good. Okay, so this was a PDF that I was using to try to learn how to play Horse with No Name on guitar. So hopefully I'll be more successful at converting this lead and having that file come over than I was at learning how to play that song on guitar. Okay, so there we go. So here's a lead, Bertha Boxer. We have notes and attachments. We have a PDF file that's been attached to it. So without making any changes or kind of digging into anything else, let's just click on convert and we'll see what happens. Now, for those that might not be familiar, leads can be converted into an account and a related contact record. So, the theory is here that if, somebody new might be interested in your services, whatever it is, they'll come in as the lead. And then once you qualify them, they say, okay, this is a legit, opportunity or a legit way that we might be able to make money. You click on convert and it can turn into that account contact. And if you want a related opportunity, but I'm going to uncheck that for right now. So looks like we have the account. Yep. Contact. Good. Okay. So I'm going to click convert. What is this here? Your lead is missing a field mapping for the account.customer priority field. The heck is the account customer priority field? This must be something custom that we did in a previous week. So let's go look at that. Let's see, customer priority. I'm guessing this is something that we said is like required at some point in the past. So let's just see if we can uncheck that. We'll save. Okay, so let's see if we can convert now. Okay, so lead's been converted. Gives you a link both to the account and to the contact. So I'm hoping that when we look at this contact, we'll actually see that notes and attachments. And in fact, we do. So now this kind of begs the question, when I converted my lead with an attachment, it came over onto the contact automatically. But Brian, you're saying that when you do it, it's not following it, right?
Right, it's not following it. So I guess we changed something in my org at some point, because that's what I thought, that it was a standard feature out of the box. So where I should also point out is that we have in the contacts related list, we have a different section. It's not notes and attachments. It's like something customized where we're calling it contractor documents.
Okay, so you're seeing it on the notes and attachments on the lead side, but when you go over to the contacts, you don't have the notes and attachments related list there?
I do have the notes and attachments related list, but we want it on contractor documents.
Okay, so do you see the file though on notes and attachments on the contact?
Yes.
So no. Okay, so I guess it's a different issue then if we think about it, right? So
yeah,
the mechanism to move the document from the lead to now into the contact on notes and attachments, that part's working. But what you're trying to do is actually take it from notes and attachments and put it into that contractor documents.
Yes.
Okay. So let me stop my share for a sec. I don't know if this is something you can share. I know there's all kinds of proprietary things like that, but contractor documents, I'm not familiar with that. Is that a something custom that you guys have created, or is it tied to like Dropbox or something? Like, what is that thing?
It's not tied to Dropbox. It's just something custom that was created. I didn't create it myself, but Yeah, it's not something standard out of the box.
Okay. Well, that being said, like I said, if it's something you could share, at least set up about what that contractor document is, so we can see that. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what that related list is.
Would that be something that I could do with a flow, with a record trigger flow, like a get record element?
Yeah, again, without knowing what contractor documents are, it's hard to say. So in setup, can you actually navigate to the contractor documents, whatever that is, like whatever defines that, so we could take a look at that?
You know what? I'll get back to you on that one. Now that I think about it, I gotta just do my homework a little bit more.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciate showing me what I thought that it does it out of the box.
Yeah. Megan, you have a
Just off of this, because now it has me asking the question. So if we ever find something like what he's talking about, he's got these contract documents, but you don't know where they actually are. Is there some sort of function, like a root function, to find where something is? Like, is there metadata in any of these records that we can trace back with? Or do you have to go to like the field history to find, or
Yeah, so in other words, like you're seeing something on the screen, you're like, well, I don't know what the hell that is. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So let's take a look at that. Right. So if I were to have something like that, let's just say interests, right? Like I don't know what interest is. I'm like, where did that even come from? Is it standard? Is it custom? Whatever, right? So for me, where I would start with this is I would go to gear icon and go to edit page, right? So if there's something on the page, we start with the edit page, and that'll take us to at least be able to click on that thing and set up and maybe get an idea of where it's coming from. Now, I already have an idea for the interest one, but let's just see. So if we look at this page in edit here, I go to interest and I click on that. And if I look over at my sidebar here, it's related lists. Okay, so I'm like, okay, well, whatever that thing is, it's being added to this page as part of that default related list component. So that would be the next place I would go. I'd go to the page layout to see what that related list is. So, or what that interest is on the related list. So I'm going to go back, and if we go to gear icon again and go to edit object, we can, just like we did before, we'll go to page layouts, and I know it's this one, so just click here. But again, you can go to the assignments and then click on the page layout. But if I go to related lists and I go down here to interests, again, the fact that it's on the related list, you know that it's an object in Salesforce. But I believe if you, okay, so that's just a label. Okay, so interest. So again, if it's a related list, you know it's an object, and you would find that if you go to Object Manager, go to interests. Okay, now you can see there's a custom object called interests. I can click on that, and then you can get all the details about what this object is. Create a custom tab, look at the records, whatever you need to do. But I think just generally speaking, if you're seeing something on a page and you're like, what is that thing? Edit the page, click on it, look at the sidebar, and that should point you in the right direction. Maybe it says custom, like Lightning Web Component or custom component, or maybe it's a Visual Force page. Whatever it is, it should point you in the right direction for where you might need to go to see what that thing is. Hope that answers the question. And Brian, as always, once you have a chance to kind of go through that, do a little bit more troubleshooting. If you have any other questions, by all means, hit us up here or, in the Slack workspace.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So any other questions on this? Otherwise, we can open it back up for questions. All right, so let's open it back up for questions. Anybody have any other topics or issues that they would like to go through?
Have you ever used the visibility? So on the Lightning record page layouts, they've got that visibility component.
Yeah.
I noticed yesterday when I was playing around that we have a visibility set up, but it doesn't seem to be working. Like it works in one section, but that one, it's like we have it if it's any of these project types, don't show this, but it's still appearing on all of those types.
Yeah, let's take a look. And again, for those that might not be familiar, this is one of what I personally feel like is one of the best enhancements that they've done for page layouts or lightning pages in a long time, right? So what this will allow you to do is if you're on a record, like this contact that we're looking at, let's see, what would be a good thing to, actually, let's go back to leads because I think I got more stuff on the layout, or did I literally just convert our only lead? Okay, here we go. So let's go to Biddy Bear. So if we're looking at this, and let's just say your rule was that you only want to show related lists if the title of this lead was filled in. Again, that's a really dumb use case, but let's just use that as an example, right? So if this is blank, we don't want to show related lists. So the way we can do that is gear icon, go to edit page. It'll take you into Lightning App Builder. And any component that you have on your Lightning page, you can actually click on and you should see, let's see. Here, let's just do this whole tab component. So if I click on this tab component here, you notice that every component that you click on will have this little set component visibility option here. So you can actually add a filter to say that this component should only display when this evaluates to true. So in other words, if I said where the lead title, I think is somewhere on here. So if the lead title is not equal to blank, then display this component. And you'll notice that anything that has a visibility filter will have that little orange eye right next to it telling you that there's visibility filters. So just to kind of test this out, and again, we have it where the title is not equal to blank, that's when this should show. So I'm going to save this. There we go. Okay, so this is the first time I'm editing the page, so it's asking me to activate. I'll probably have to set as org default, so I'll do that. And again, this is usually the part where I stress, and I wonder if I'm in one of my customer orgs I forgot to log out of, but no, we're in our Trailhead playground. That's good. Okay, so I'll click save again, look for that little change saved. We'll go back here, and we can see that our related lists are visible. And that's because if we look at our title that's filled in, so in theory then, if I go in here and I blank that out and I save, I would expect those to disappear. And there you go. So because the title is blank and that rule that we put in place had now made that whole entire section disappear. So you can imagine you can get pretty creative with this where, maybe, and here I'll just show you this, if we go to edit our page, let's just say that you're not using your the page layout to display fields. Let's just say you're using the dynamic forms or dynamic fields, whatever they're calling it these days. And you might have a certain subset of fields you only want to display when the lead status is working contacted. Maybe there's a different set of fields you want to display when it gets to closed, not converted. So you can do that where, you go into your dynamic fields here, you add a section, and let's just say that when we're in the, whatever this status is right here, whatever it is, right? So we can say that when we're in this status, we only want to show company, maybe the annual revenue and the address, right? So if we wanted that, we can go into this, section that we created, add a filter, and say only display this when the stage, is it a lead stage or lead status? Here we go. So lead status is equal to open, not contacted, right? So when the status is open, not contacted, that's when this section will be displayed, right? So again, you can get pretty creative with this, with, showing different items on your layout based on other fields from the record itself. So
Can you do me a quick favor since you put in the field section thing? Because I had the issue with relating something similar to that. So once you save this page that way, if you click on new, does that screw up once you go back, does that screw up what your new?
Yeah, it absolutely does. That's the other thing to keep in mind, right? Because once you use these dynamic fields, and again, there might be a way to get around this, but let me just say this and then we'll open it up for that point. But once you add dynamic fields in a dynamic section and it allows you to save your dynamic filter, like mine's not letting me do. Hold on a minute. So let's just save, see what happens here. Yeah, so it yelled at me that it didn't have certain required fields. But yeah, to your point, whenever you add dynamic fields to a Lightning page, that has the consequence of now overriding your new button, and it's only going to show the fields that display on those dynamic forms, dynamic fields. It won't show you the standard page layout anymore. So for example, I only added like 3 fields to that thing. So if I were to go here and create a new lead, you can see now it's just showing me company, annual revenue, and address. So that's something to keep in mind, that once you go with dynamic forms, you're almost kind of like committed to that. And that's what you're going to see on the new, when you click on new. Now, that being said, does anybody know if there's a way around that? Like, can I have dynamic fields and put stuff on the layout, but still use the page layout when I click on that new button? So, I mean, if I was the lead object and I had a place to control this, it would probably be somewhere here. Like if I go to the lead and we click on buttons, links, and actions, this is where you can create like custom actions, custom buttons and things. But you also see like all the standard ones here as well. So I always wonder, like, it would make sense to me that you would be able to go into this new, edit this, and do it be like a toggle for like dynamic form or page layout, but that's not a thing. So yeah, honestly, I have no idea if there's a way to override that. I think once you add dynamic fields onto a layout, that's it. You're kind of committed to using that and not the page layout anymore.
I know there isn't a way to override it with other things, because I did override the new button to go through a screen flow. So
yeah,
but
yeah,
I would assume there might be something similar.
So I'm curious to override the new button using a screen flow. So in other words, you're on the lead list view and you have that new buttons in there. If you wanted to override that, so you click on that and it pops up a screen flow, how would you do that?
Yeah.
Top of your head.
I had to create a component.
Okay. And then display the flow within the component.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it wasn't a hard one. It was like literally just kind of do that where it kind of just references the flow. That way the flow opens up. And then I learned that the first thing I had with that one was then the standard record type question would come up, but I also had that part of the screen flow. So that would show up, but it didn't do anything anymore. So if you actually go back to, I think it might be the new button, there's actually a little toggle for asking about record types, which I didn't know.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is a use case that actually came up for one of our clients this week. They basically wanted to override that new button. And again, I would love it if you could just create an action with whatever fields that you want and predefined values and format the layout and then override the new button with the action, but that's not a thing. So it's like, I think the only options were, to your point, like creating a lightning component. So you have to create the component and then embed the flow within the component. It's actually quite ridiculous to think about this in 2023 that we still have to go through hoops for this. But
well, and I mean, you can do the action, but the problem is then the standard that, like, how if you use the list view.
Is that my internet that died or is it Sandy's? I think it's
Sandy's.
I think it's Salesforce trying to silence us, but yeah, good, Dan.
When you say
on this break, I just want to say bye, everybody. It's my birthday, and I have to get ready. So,
happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Megan.
Have a great weekend.
38.
Nice.
I know.
I remember 38.
Spring chicken. Spring chicken.
I just want to understand what are you trying to override on the new button? Are you trying to control exactly what fields you do or do not see when a user hits the new button? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So in my use case in here, I'll kind of share my screen to show you here. In the use case that we were trying to troubleshoot for this customer, they wanted it so that when you would click the new button, there were 2 date fields that are required fields on the object. It's required at the database level. It's got to be there. So they wanted a way that depending on what day a person's clicking on that new button, they want to pre-populate those fields with some kind of formulaic, thing to say, okay, if today's Wednesday, it's going to populate it with like the previous Sunday. That we can do. But the problem was those fields come from a managed package. So I can't go into the default value section of the field and actually put a formula. And again, I'm saying all this, but let me just show you real quick. So like when you have a field on, here, I'll just create a new one. So let's just say on the lead, we create a date field here. and we call this whatever, it doesn't matter, but down here, default value. So they basically wanted to use this to build some kind of default value for that field, but we couldn't do that. So what I was hoping to do was just like in the global or the actions, when you create an action and you add some fields to the action, like here, let's do whatever, test, whatever. So when I come in here, we can pick what fields we want to be included in this action. And when I save this, it actually takes you to that section where you can put like predefined values. So I was hoping to maybe use this. If I can't override the default value on the field, maybe I can go into this, select whatever that date field is, that we have, and then use that same kind of formula editor to put it in here. So we couldn't do that either. So again, the hope was that if I could use like a flow, like replace that new button with a flow behind the scenes, then I'm good, because when the flow renders, I can calculate whatever I want the date fields to be and then just drop them in the fields on the flow. But I couldn't figure out a great way to do that through just a new button.
Okay, so it's not a difference of the field itself, it's a difference of the value on the field. Like the field's going to show either way, but have a different, okay.
Yeah, we want to basically have like a predefined value on that field. So the workaround that I came up with, and again, this is clunky as hell and it's 2023 and this is ridiculous, but the workaround that I came up with was going back to what Sandy mentioned, that when you override fields using these dynamic forms, that becomes the fields that you're going to see on the new button. So if I had a period start date and a period end date that are required as part of a managed package that have to have a value, and those are the ones I wanted to default, I created 2 brand new fields that are custom that I have full control over. Put whatever logic that I want to into those fields, and then added those to the dynamic form. And then in a before record triggered flow, I take whatever's in the custom fields and put them in the required fields. And that way, when it's presented to them in the new screen, it's already pre-filled in with the the logic. When they click save, it fills in the required fields behind the scenes, and they're good to go. But it's clunky, but it got the job done. So
I had a client that wanted to control only certain fields at the beginning when a new record is created, and I created a filter on the section itself that looks for whether or not the username is blank. So when you create a new record, if the username is blank, then that's a situation for only new records.
Yeah.
And that was able to show only those fields in the new. It's kind of another way of getting that same result of having control over the new fields. But just a thought.
Yeah, it just seems like there's so many ways it could be done. It's just it's not supported, and that's crazy to me. So, but honestly, at this stage, I have no idea where we got to that question or who that question came from. So, hope that answers the question. Any follow-ups to that before we open it back up? Hey, Sandy. So we answered all the questions while you were gone. So feel free to listen back to the recording to get your answer.
Thank you.
I was just saying, I can't remember where we got started on this, but it was overriding new buttons and things like that. So yeah, I don't think we have a great way without some crazy workarounds. All right, we'll open it back up then. Any questions that anyone else would like to go through today? Lindsay, I see your hand up.
I know I had mentioned it earlier, and I like a lot of the stuff you just said. I'm so new to this. But I am working on the reports and dashboards super badge. Yeah. And I know there's a lot you can't say. I'm not looking for an answer. But part of it, I'm kind of stuck because I was one of them. It was basically making some sales reports and putting it in the sales report folder. And it comes back when I verify it. It says one of my reports, they can't find it in the folder, which it's in the proper folder, or I've used the wrong report type. And so I think that's where I'm kind of stuck, because the explanation of it, to me, it sounds like an opportunity report type, because it's a way to filter through one of the, if you've done the super badge, there's silly solar bots. And if I try to do other kind of reports, I can't filter it by the information it provides. So I don't know if obviously it says it's not in the right folder, or you have the wrong report type. I'm guessing it's the wrong report type because it is in the right folder. Or is it trailhead's jinky or
Well,
something.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's always true, right? But I would say that 73.2% of the time, when you get these kind of issues when you're creating these reports, there may have been an issue with the naming, like a space or an extra character. So first
I
thing that I would say
copied
to
and
verify,
pasted, like I literally always copy and paste the bold print.
yeah,
Put it in
it
there when
just
I even like deleted the report, retried it, doing it again and making sure I'm like, okay, is it spelled the same? Everything's right.
just curious. Just could you show us that report folder? And again, we're not giving away any answers here. This is more of just a looking at the thing.
And I gotta figure out.
Plus, if I'm being honest with you, I don't know anybody that like. Do people hire these days based on super badges? I think it's great experience. I think it's a great thing to do. But
And honestly, that's why I'm doing it. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get as much hands-on information so I can, be ready for this test.
Yeah.
It's basically why I'm trying to figure
yeah,
out.
so I think honestly, for preparing for the certifications, the super badges are great because it's like just like the questions on the exam that don't ask you using Salesforce like exact nomenclature. They kind of talk around the exact words you need. It kind of gives you that practice to try to figure out like where you need to go within Salesforce to try to find it. All right, so let's look here.
Are you seeing accounts with SolarBots opportunities?
Yep. So do me a
Okay.
favor, if you could just click edit real quick on this and then go to the report properties. So you should see that little gear icon up on the top, or maybe it's under hit the drop down next to save. I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. So where do you have
I've got it in the sales
SolarBot
reports
sales
folder.
reports.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you can just very quickly go back to your super badge, and what is this thing supposed to be called?
Let's see. Can I share that? I'm really bad at sharing.
Yeah, I can see it to the left there. So if you just click over on that other
you
window.
can see it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
So this is this is that particular one.
Okay, and I'm guessing that when they're verifying this, they're doing it with the label of the report, not necessarily the name of the report. Okay, so you're listening with customers to call during the data. All opportunities include a potential SolarBot sale were brought in. The value of SolarBot and the opportunity type. The new report accounts without SolarBot opportunities. Okay, so I want you to think about this for a second, right? Think about the name of that report.
Okay.
Okay, so what object are we actually looking for here?
I'm wrong if I'm thinking opportunities.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to say this, and again, I don't want to give the answer, but like we are looking for accounts without SolarBot opportunities.
Okay. Well, so then because then I made a report, an account report, but then I was trying to figure out how to. I guess I need to go back in and figure it out.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you could stop sharing, I'll show you something that's completely unrelated to the question that you're asking here. Just randomly, I'll show you this, right? So if I was to go into my Salesforce here, and let's go to our accounts, right? So let's just say that I had accounts, and each of these accounts had related opportunity records. And my manager came to me and said, I don't know why we have all these accounts that we're not selling to. Can you give me a list of all the accounts that don't have any opportunities associated to them, right? One way that I might accomplish that would be to go to the reports tab. I'm going to create a new report. Because we're looking for accounts, as far as the report type that I'm going to choose, it's going to be account. And if, and it's always the first one that I always end up, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to create an account report. Doesn't matter what fields we put on here, we can add whatever we want here. But the trick to this whole thing is I want to get all accounts. I don't care when they were created, so let's get rid of that. So we'll say all time. And you hit this little drop down, and there is a semi-magical option here for add cross filter, right? So I do that, I can say, find me all accounts without opportunities.
So I was trying that, and for some reason, I couldn't find opportunities. I don't know. Maybe I was doing something wrong because I was trying. I was trying that as well. I'm like, and I tried the cross filter, but I couldn't find opportunities as an option.
Hmm. I mean, that could be a separate issue, something broken in the orgs of, you want to try that again real quick? And if
Well,
you're not seeing that as an option, we can look
Now
at that.
it's working.
The other thing I just want to point out for those on the call, so when cross filters are great, again, if you want to try to find, again, accounts that don't have any opportunities, you can even add filters that own the opportunities. So you can say, find me all accounts without opportunities where the, stage field is, let's say, where'd stage field go? There we go. Stage field is prospecting, right? So again, you can start to add filters on these cross filters to say, find me all accounts that don't have opportunities that are in the prospecting stage. So you can get pretty creative with these. And these type of reports, I think, are really good when it comes to like data quality in your org, or making sure that things are being cleaned up. Like, find me all cases that don't have any activities or case comments. Things like that. For my app, Resource Hero, find me all resources that haven't been assigned to a project yet, things like that. So yeah, I might start there. Just take a look at that and see if that might help point you in the right
Thank
direction.
you. I was
Yeah.
overthinking, and I think when it said, has been include, like when they pulled the information over, those that had a potential solar bot sale had that in there. So I was filtering it by, not having the solar bot type customer.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, the only thing, going back to your point about Trailhead being a little bit wonky when it tests the super badges, just make sure that whatever reports you have in there that might have that same label, that you get rid of those before you try to validate, or change the name might be the better option, just so, because I don't know how they deal with like things in the recycling bin or whatever it is. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, what do you got?
Hello. It's actually formula related, or could be formula related. There's probably different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Probably a validation rule. But I'm doing this click spread that's using the education scenario. And I made a data model. I did check out Education Cloud, but it really didn't have that much like out of the box features. I don't really know how to develop on it. So anyways, short story, I'm trying to create a prerequisite validation. I have the enrollment as a junction object for student and course, but I'm trying to make it where course can be like if the student has like prior course, then it will, like if you have like history, like world history, and there's like 1, 2, like how would I do like prevent 2 if you haven't took 1?
Yeah.
I was
So
kind
let
of
me,
thinking about Roman numerals. Didn't mean to cut you off. I was thinking that maybe Roman numerals knew a validation that checks Roman numerals, but I don't know.
yeah. So let me say it back to you, and then tell me if I have at least a requirement. So let's just simplify. You're trying to take, create some kind of like enrollment application. You have a
Yes.
student record, you have a class record, and when you create that junction to say this student isn't enrolled in this course, let's call it an enrollment object. That's the junction.
Yes, that's the
If you
junction, yes.
had student A is signing up for World History 2, you want to make sure that they had World History 1. Otherwise,
Yes.
throw an error saying you can't.
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
exactly what I'm trying to do. And I do have
Yeah.
an object that's enrollment history, which is like a child, a student.
So let me say this high level about how I might address this, and then we can open it up for feedback from others. But
If parents do it.
whenever we're talking about checking objects, like checking other objects as part of a save operation to validate whether or not I'm allowed to proceed, for me at least, that immediately throws out validation rules, because you have
Okay.
very limited functionality that you can do with like looking up to other tables and checking things, right? So what I might suggest, and a
Well-
way that you can do this. Yes, exactly. So I would create on the enrollment object, I would create a checkbox field called is valid. I would put a validation rule on the enrollment object that says if it's throw an error, if is invalid, whatever you call the thing. But if it's invalid, basically throw an error, right? Now that that's there, you have a checkbox that's going to be behind the scenes. You have a validation rule on that checkbox. Then you would have a before record triggered flow running off of the enrollment object, so that when you save it, it calls your flow, and then you can do all the lookups in the world that you want. So you might have it such that on the courses, you have a related list that's called prerequisite courses, right? So for World History
Like a
3,
pick list or something.
not a
right?
pick list. Nope, definitely not a pick list. It would be a related list because you want to be able to say World History 3 and then be able to select whatever courses are prerequisite, one or more. So if we did pick lists, we'd have to have a whole bunch of fields to do this. But if you do a related list, you can select one or any number that you want. So it might be World History 2 is a prerequisite, World History 1, and maybe English 3, right? So in this flow, when you create an enrollment, it would say, okay, get the record they're trying to enroll in, then get all the prerequisite records for that, and then do a loop and basically check that student's history to see if they've already taken those classes. And if they have, you're good to go. If not, throw an error.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I think that would be the way to go. And then again, if at any point in that loop you find something that they're missing a prerequisite, all you have to do is check that box on the enrollment saying is invalid, and then the validation rule will pick it up, throw the error to the user, and you're good to go.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was kind of thinking about flow, but then I never really thought about flow during the validation. But the checkbox helps out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's kind of a neat pattern to look at for a bunch of different use cases. But you create the checkbox, you create a validation rule in the checkbox, and then you're checking that in your flow, either true or
Okay.
false, depending on if they meet some kind of criteria.
Okay.
Now, that being said, let me open it back up. Does anybody have any other ways you might address that? Creating essentially a validation rule, but making it dependent on a whole bunch of other data that might be
Yeah.
in the database?
It'd be used on a form too if that hosts out. Ideally, if I can make it like on a form, or on a form to put on like a visual experience. Where people
Well,
test it out in real life.
yeah, that might actually make it even easier, because let's just say that your form is a flow, like a screen-based flow.
Yes.
Then you can
that's
just
right.
embed the logic right in the flow, which is great because they can select the course, hit next, and between them hitting next and displaying the next screen, whether it's okay or not, you can have all that logic to check if they have all the prerequisites. So
Okay.
then you don't have to worry about the validation rule or the checkbox or any of that stuff. You just do it live right in the screen-based flow.
Okay.
Okay. That one is definitely a little bit more involved, but if if you run into any issues and if this is one you might want to run through next week, I'm more than happy to kind of kick things off with this use case. I think that's a pretty good
Thank
use
you.
case. But any other thoughts on how we might tackle that besides what I mumbled through there? Okay, well, I hope that helps. Let us know how that goes, Sean.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. All right. Any other questions that anyone would like to go through?
I have a question.
Sure, Kayla.
So we are looking to collect an average. So within our Salesforce platform, we have clinical studies, and then under our clinical studies, each of them have different sites, okay, associated with them.
Mhm.
So what we're looking to do is roll up the average of number of reports done on time to the study level and capture that average there. Are you following?
Yes. So let me
Okay.
say that back to you. So if
Okay.
I think about just the data model for a second, you have a study,
Mhm,
you have the sites that are related to that study,
mhm.
and then underneath the sites, you have the actual like tests or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So tests roll up to a site, sites roll up to a study, and you're trying to get the average number of what again? Say that again.
So they're called monitoring reports, and they're
Mhm.
being completed in Salesforce, and we want to know the average monitoring reports completed on time.
Okay. So a couple assumptions that I think that, or the first things that I would ask you before we come up with a solution is, what are the relationships between the objects? Because if the I forget what you said the name is, but like the tests, if they're related to the site through a master detail relationship, then we could take advantage of roll-up summary fields.
Okay.
Same thing, if the site is related to the study with a master detail relationship, we could take advantage of roll-up summary fields. If they're not, if they're lookup relationships, it's still doable. It just gets a little bit more complex. So
Okay.
for your relationships, do you have any idea what those lookup types are?
Yeah, I don't think they're master detail.
Okay. So again, that's where it gets more complex. Now,
Mhm.
when you say you want to be able to display or calculate the average number of things that were completed on time, does it need to be a field that gets stored on the study that you're able to report on and stuff? Or when you just go to that study, do you want to be able to see the value? And the reason why,
Go ahead.
yeah, I'll just tell you, the reason why I asked that question is because if you want to store it as a field, then we have to talk about, like, you know, when any test gets added or a site gets added, we have to do those calculations or recalculate everything every time one is created. If all you need to do is be able to see it when you're looking at the study, then we can calculate it in real time and just display the value, right? So it's either display it in real time and just show the value, or calculate it every time a study or a test is created so that we can, you know, update the value on that parent.
I see. So we really just need to be able to pull it out of the system on a report. It doesn't need to be anywhere in the system.
Well, if it needs to be on a report, then we have to do it. Well, then again, okay, so if you only need it on a report, then what I might suggest is if you had a report type, which was, so you don't already have this, create a custom report type called studies with sites with whatever that test name that you mentioned was, right? So basically across those three objects.
Okay.
Then at the very bottom of your hierarchy, that test object you have there, what I might suggest is to create a checkbox formula field. And basically it's true if it was completed on time, like whatever that criteria is, right? So if you have a field like when it was due, when it was completed, you can just say, you know, is when it was completed less than when it was due true, right?
Perfect.
And then on your report, then you would be able to filter the report based on that, or use that as part of your calculation and come up with an average. And again, saying this all theoretically, just saying it out loud, it sounds very complex, but I think this is definitely one that we could walk through together, if you like.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that back. You made me think about it a little differently than what I was doing. So let me see what I can do this week or next week, because today's Friday. But yeah, I might bring it back to you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely one to bring back, because now that I'm thinking about this too, I'm thinking about if you were going to create this just on a report, like you have the, you know, where you could do like for each study, the number of records that were on time versus the number of records that weren't on time. And then you can use the parent group val function, and you can get like whatever the total was and compare it to the ones that were completed on time to give you like a percentage. Yeah, lots of things we can do there. But yeah, give it some thought. And then if you want to walk through it in detail next call, we can absolutely do that.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, in the last 2 minutes, anybody have anything else that they would like to bring up or discuss? All right.
Can I just jump in and say that this meeting is recorded, and if any of the topics went by too fast, it might be a good idea to go back and review it. You can at least go back and review it on the recording, because I know that if it's not a topic that I'm comfortable with, that some of that stuff just flies by, and it's really nice to have that ability to go back and review it step at a time. Go try it myself and then go back and review it again on the recording. So,
or if your internet fails you too.
Yeah, that too. And I was going to say, I'm obligated at this point to point out that there is a clear difference between recording the call and then actually posting it so that others can access it. So I feel like this is a little bit of a call out. So I think maybe I'll have to actually post this one this week. So I'll take care of that today. So, but yeah, usually what I do is, well, I was going to say, usually what I do is after the call, I try to think back, did anybody share anything that was like super private, proprietary, you know, part one of their clients' orgs or something like that. And if there's anything private, I try not to post those. But I think today's call was pretty benign. I don't think we have anything secret squirrel here. So yeah, I'll get this posted. I'll throw it up on YouTube, and I'll make sure I post a link in the Slack workspace. And I just posted the link again for anybody that's not already joined the Slack workspace. Please do that. And
Bill,
other than that, I think that's, yeah.
That's a good question. Actually, a little higher up, I had a discussion with Tanya. The fact that the Slack invite links expire after 30 days.
They actually don't any longer. And now that you say that, yeah, I figured out a way to make it so they never expire. So let me make sure that I have the proper one, and I will put that again.
That link that you just shared isn't working.
I'm sorry. I will update my PowerPoint presentation.
The one you just did, the first one wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be that it would expire every 30 days. And I said, again, in 2023, that's ridiculous that I have to recreate a link every 30 days. But we figured it out. Now we have a never expires link, and I just put the updated one there. But other than that, I think that's everything I have for today. Hope everybody has a good weekend. I'm going to pick up a puppy tomorrow, so that's exciting for me. So next week I'll be carrying a puppy on our call. But other than that, hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will catch up next week.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.